You're listening to RTI Audio, powered by Rocky Top Insider. This is Pancakes and Bacon with VFL, Kyler Kervison, and Reed Bacon.
Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Pancakes and Bacon. I'm your host, as always, Kyler Kervison, joined with Reed Bacon. I think this is going to actually be a good one, even though we're coming off a loss to Missouri, one that I think was a little unexpected in a lot of our eyes, but hopefully Reed and I can clear the muddy waters a little bit and give some perspective to everyone. So before we get into everything that is that Missouri loss, Reed, how are we doing, bud?
Hey, brother. Hey, brother.
Yep. One of those days.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing Grizzlies basketball because I'm not going to wear I guess I probably should have worn my Tennessee basketball hoodie if I was thinking, because they had a nice win against Wisconsin. But it's
next.
It's November, so I'm not getting excited about basketball in November. I mean college basketball in November. And Grizzlies, we haven't started off good this year, but we don't have Ja Wick. He's serving his 25 game suspension for playing with handguns. But yeah, Titans lost, Vols lost. But I'm going to say it was still a good weekend. I still had a nice weekend, but I echo what you said. Going into this, I've done more prep for this than I have in a long time. Mm-hmm. I feel like I have some really good points. I'm happy that I looked on social media a little bit after the game, and on Sunday I listened to a brief little bit of the call-in show after the game because I was driving to eat dinner with Megan. I listened to Jimmy Himes and Tim Irwin every Sunday on my way to Mass. And so I like to hear the call-ins, not even necessarily what their answers are, but I want to hear what the call-ins are from the fans. And I thought about those things when I broke this down. I'm
Get a little temperature of the room.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to ask you how you're doing, and then I'm going to go into my opening statement.
I'm doing all right. There's always just a big damper on my mood when we lose, and especially when we lose games like this. So that's not always great. I absolutely dreaded watching the film because I was already so annoyed. And it's kind of reviewing this stuff has kind of like tussled my thought process in my head because I'm like trying to explain where I come from.
Hold on. Amy, for some reason, is in my bed crawling around like she's going to lay down. Now she's barking at me. I have no idea why she's barking. Buddy, what is it? Do you not want to hear Kyler talk? You're okay.
Do you not like me anymore, Annie?
Sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, but it's just I think there's I feel I have a different perspective than most, just being a former player, but I can see where a lot of people's frustrations are, especially if like you're not sure what it is, right? Why is it this way? Why is it that road games are difficult? Why is it that we couldn't get the offense going? A lot of comments about like we abandoned the run game this game in Florida. And those kinds of comments is like, that's why I like to do this show. Like, that's why I like to talk about this stuff, because I want to like help people understand that it's not that simple, honestly. Yeah. Like, it's really not that simple that like, oh, they didn't do well on offense because they just tried to pass the ball the whole time. No, it's a lot more complicated. And there's a lot more stuff to it.
I couldn't agree more. I'm excited to jump in I didn't mean to jump you there. I agree completely. I talked to you yesterday and I said, how you feeling? And I know you were upset and you said, I don't want to rewatch it. And I said, I'm excited to rewatch it. As I've said on here, it gives me the answers to the test, why, what happened there and that. And this sounds really, really bad, but I've said it before and I don't want it to come off like I'm attacking, but people just make comments and they're just talking out of their ass. Like, and I get it. I'm not saying they're not intelligent. They don't either spend time to go back and rewatch and try to just calm down, take it for what it is, look at each play individually, figure out what it is. But you got people calling and wanting people on hot seats. They want different coaches fired. They're saying this, that, and the other. It's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, one of my favorites, and we're going to get into this because I want to hear you have on here what's next. I don't really have too much on that, so I'm excited to hear what you think.
Yeah.
But, talking about, well, Tim Banks, I heard one guy call into the Jimmy and Tim Irwin show. I think it's Sunday Sports Sound Off is what it's called. And I was happy that Jimmy was like, yo, guy, like, chill out. This caller was calling in. He just said, like, our defense isn't good. We've never been good. Tim Banks, like, he doesn't do a very good job. Like, we can't do – and Jimmy's like, come on, like, hold on. Like, and he reminds him of some of the different games that they've played, and they've played well. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm glad Jimmy did that because – and I'll just start there. I'll kind of get off the tangent of hearing people make comments that they just really don't know what they're talking about. Is as bad as the defense played, as ugly as some of the plays looked, and we're going to get into those, the defense did not lose us this game, in my opinion. The offense is still the reason we lost this game. I got on Xbox Live last night and was talking with Nathan and Jack. Not Nathan, by the way, not Nathan Hughes. Shout out to Nathan Hughes.
Yes, shout out Big Nathan.
Had his baby boy Strider Reed Hughes, which I'm very honored about that. So that was awesome. I remember when he told me that they were going to be naming him after me or using my name type vibe, and it was awesome. It was really, really cool. So shout out to him. And like I texted him, no matter the loss, he won this weekend. So anyways, not that Nathan, but I was talking with Jack and Nathan last night, two of my buddies on Xbox Live, and they're talking about the game, and I think Jack made a comment like, hey, we got pushed around. We did get pushed around. He's like, our defensive didn't show up. I said, Jack, whether the defense didn't play their best game or not, we 1,000% it was the offense's fault. And there's no doubt in my mind about that. I can sit here and tell you that the game was 13-7 well into the second half. It was
here's the ultimate explanation is we got the ball back with a little under 12 minutes left in the game, down 2 scores.
Yeah.
Our defense they had only scored 22 points at that point with a little bit under 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They had only scored 22 points. So you're telling me our offense can't get to 22 points? That's the kind of writing on – it's like, come on, guys. Like, yes. Yeah. We had 2 drives that just puttered out, and we weren't able to get anything out of it. And then they eventually scored another one. But they only scored 29 total. They didn't even get to 30. The extra points were off of pick 6. So it's like offense is responsible for as many points as they gained as giving to the other team. That's not a good recipe.
I completely agree. I mean, as bad as some of the plays look with Cook running free, receivers running free and getting back, and as bad as it looked, as bad as we got pushed around, all that, they still bowed up and they still got off the field and they still held them to field goals on someone. It's like this was 1,000% a team loss. This was a team loss, but this was 1,000% on the offense in my opinion. So here's a couple overview things. Missouri, I'm not going to joke and say that Missouri was playing their Super Bowl, but they've gotten their ass kicked by us 2 years in a row. They're going to remember that. Oh, yeah. Missouri is a good football team. They're not bad at all.
No, they're a very good football team. There's a reason they only have 1 loss, and it's to Georgia, and it's I think a 1-score loss. Like what was it, 30-21?
No, they have 2 losses. They're 7.
Oh yes, they lost to LSU in a shootout.
Right. So they're a good football team. I thought they I thought they had a really, really good offensive game plan, which is the same game plan that we've seen from Florida. We've seen from Bama. We saw some South Carolina. We saw from Austin Peay. A lot of window dressing, some dink and dunks, quarterbacks trying to run. It was this was not an offensive game plan that was new. This was absolutely what we've seen multiple times. Sometimes it's worked against us, and other times we shut it down. So they executed well. But yeah, they made plays. They were more physical. They were playing at home. The people that talked about this loss being worse than the Florida loss, no way, in my opinion. These people talk about this loss being worse than South Carolina last year. No way, in my opinion. This is a quality football team.
Yeah.
And
South Carolina wasn't even close to quality. Florida is not close to quality. And the Florida game felt more like the Austin Peay game in the same vein, where it really was just like, we are not playing to where we can. Because that Florida game, that's not the same. I'm not going to that Florida game saying it's a pick 'em. Like, I don't know. Like, we could lose to Missouri like I did last week. Versus Florida, it was like, let's go down there and win. Like, I know it's hard to win in the swamp, but we're better than this team. When you put it down on paper, we're better than that team.
I thought it was going to be a 10-point win, and we were still favored in that game. Now, granted, we were favored against Missouri. If my memory serves, the spread was much closer for this game, and I think one or two outlets, whether it was like analytics versus betting or whatever the case may be, it was like Missouri was favored, no, Tennessee was favored. So I say all that to say, and the other thing is too, no way can this loss be worse than the South Carolina game last year because of what we had riding on that game. We had a chance to go into the college football playoffs. This is who this team is. Now, last thing I'll say on kind of like an overview, and then we can get into the offense. The other thing is, like, once I remove my emotions of I hate losing, I don't like to see them celebrate. Eli Drinkowitz finally gets his revenge and gets to make his comments. And when I get past all that, this is still who this team is this year, Kyler. This is who this Tennessee team is. It's some inconsistent players, some inconsistent play as a team. We've won some games when we've played to our potential. We've looked pretty bad and gotten our ass kicked in some games when we didn't play up to our potential. But this is kind of who this team was going to be. Now, I picked us to go 10-2 entering the year. I quickly said, once I watched the first couple games, I said, that ain't it. And so, like, people shouldn't be super surprised that this happened. In my opinion, like, this is who this team is. And then we get into it and we talk about some of the players on this team. This is some of who these players are. That's kind of the last little thing I have on overview. And let's if you don't have anything else, let's jump into the offense.
Yeah, we'll just jump into it. I'm agreeing with all your sentiments, but offensively, I and I was thinking about this. A lot of people want to say that maybe it's play calling, right? Or they're not running the ball enough. That's like a common excuse, or they're not setting Joe up with the right play calls, or like you can't run the same thing again and again, things of that nature. I don't know if everyone understands how plays are drawn up, how plays are created to be in the playbook. Every single offensive play is created to be a touchdown. That's what it is. It's not created to get 3 yards, right? I don't have an inside zone scheme run in my playbook so that I can get 3 yards. That's all I want. No, it has the absolute possibility of being a touchdown run if it's run correctly. If it is run properly, it can be a touchdown. If it is run into the right defense, it can be a touchdown. That is the same for every single play. Now, can you figure out what defense they're running? Can you force them into a defense that this play will work versus, right? You make them start running man. This play works well versus man. You make them bounce out of the box. This run is really good versus a light box. Can you force them into those scenarios? Okay, you forced them into those scenarios. Now you're calling that play. Now what happens when your center gets beat one-on-one. What do you do then? Now what happens when your quarterback throws it to the wrong guy? What do you do? Now what happens when your wide receiver gets beat in his one-on-one matchup with a DB? Now what do you do? It is in the player's hands at that point. I'm a former player. I understand the pressure that is put on everybody that is out there. And a lot of the things that I watch and a lot of things that I see, I look at the players. I don't look at it as like, oh, they're running this route versus this defense and this is what's going to be open. No, I'm like, Mincy, why the hell are you lunging? Why are you lunging on a guy on 3rd and long and Joe has to get rid of the ball in the flat and misses Jalen Wright? What are you doing? You force that throw just by bad technique as an offensive lineman. Is it Joe's fault that he's got a hand in his face while he's trying to throw out there? Is it Jalen Wright's fault that the ball's behind him and he tries to make a play and tries to catch it? No. Is it Cooper's fault? He was blocking right. Was it John Campbell's fault? No, he's blocking right. One guy. 1 out of 11 messes up on a play. That's what happens. Everyone has to be on the same page. On defense, it's a little different. Yeah, you can have one guy mess up and it ends up being a touchdown. But the way defense is structured, there's the first layer of the defensive line, there's the second of the linebackers, there's the third of the DBs. It is almost you have safety valves, right, behind you. You have that next layer of defense behind you. So it gives you a chance to have mistakes. On offense, it literally ruins plays. And I just kept seeing one guy miss, one guy not do his job, one guy not get up to the second level, one guy not continue on that double team of the defensive lineman. It was just, what can you say? Dylan had a run down to the 6-yard line. It gets called back for a holding on Jacob Warren. It's one guy. We were in the red zone. We could have scored.
I don't want to get sidetracked, but I have the call on Squirrel and Jacob there was horrendous. I think a lot of people, I know a lot of Tennessee fans were really mad about the refs in Bama and could get mad at some other stuff. I'm more mad at the refs in this game than I was against Alabama, and we'll get there.
That play right there of those 2 holding calls, I thought was very ticky-tack on Jacob. Yes, you could probably see it on him. That was not a hold on Squirrel.
I disagree.
That was an absolute pancake by Squirrel, and I freaking love it. And the second penalty that I almost lost my mind was a face mask on Gabe Jeudy-Lally.
Yeah.
That is the most ridiculous call I've ever seen in my life.
The thing about it is he had hands on face mask. He was being held. So if anything, it's offsetting.
If anything.
You can see this. If you can see that, and I disagree with you on the Jacob. I didn't see Jacob didn't even engage with him long enough to there be holding. If anything, it was engaging just kind of like that. It wasn't an extension. So I hated that. And I'm going to one up one more you here. I hate it. Fucking hated the call on Omar Norman Lodge. That quarterback got up and jumped up into him. Yeah. And I promise you, I would not have been able to restrain myself the way that Omar did.
He was looking down at Omar.
He was taunting him. He got up, got in his face, and was looking down at him. And Omar just got up and kind of pushed him out of the way, like, let me go. And they called it. I was furious there. Yeah. And I get that they always say you catch the second one, but they were looking at the whole thing. It wasn't like kind of like, one of those senses where someone punches and you can see they're not looking at it and they see the next guy punch. I get that. They see what's going on here, and they see that he stands up and gets over him, and then Omar's just going and pushes him and continues running. Omar doesn't push him and stand there and keep talking. He pushes him and goes. And I can promise you there was nothing – I laughed because I did it, but because I hated it. If I blasted somebody or did something, I stood over them because I know if someone did it to me or made a tackle at me, there was nothing more infuriating than if they wanted to stand over me like they're better than me. Yeah. So, like, if I was Omar, he handled it way better than I did. So, anyways – not to say, Kyler, that there's not some responsibility on coaches. There were plenty of times that we've watched games in our times and like, we don't like that call. We don't necessarily like that formation. We don't understand. We don't understand why they did this there. Now, granted,
on specific runs, the short yardage runs we've always talked about, like why are they going shotgun? Why did they end up running it this kind of play? Like we talked about little stuff like that. But
No, agreed. And even in your world, what you're talking about, like when we're in shotgun, it's still drawn up to work well. We want you all to know that we're not blaming everything on the players.
Mm-hmm.
There are still times where like, hey, we don't love this call here, we don't like this call there, but the loss, the immediate reaction is we effing stink, all of our players suck, and the coaches suck. And it's just like, I don't do well with that when it's a week ago. You're like, well, we're kind of incredible. Like we got a chance. Like, I mean, we beat Missouri. Georgia better watch out. You don't know how many Tennessee fans I've heard that has been calling it from the summer that we're going to beat Georgia. Like from the summer, everyone's like, hey, it's just kind of weird. We're playing them at home. Like I could see us maybe losing on the road to Missouri, but we're probably going to beat Georgia. And I'll go ahead and foreshadow it. I don't think we're going to beat Georgia, but I'll be pretty surprised if this team doesn't bounce back really well, play really well, fight hard, and kind of keep it somewhat close.
Yeah, I think a good perspective point is to say how you guys are feeling right now. How will you feel in a week if we were to beat Georgia? Would this game even be on your mind? Like, it's like, yeah, you'd want to have won this game to like possibly go to the SEC, but like this is not going to be a determining factor of how you see Heupel moving forward throughout his entire career.
I think if you really want to get into why this happened before we actually give all the examples, why this happened is this team is who they are. They're a 3, 4, 5 loss team this season because they're inconsistent. They are. We have a bunch of 82s and 85s in Madden, and sometimes they're going to play pretty well, and other times they don't play well. And when each player decides to make multiple mistakes on a drive or on one play, or they don't execute, is Aaron Beasley a bad football player, Kyler? No, he's not. But he didn't play his best game. You see what I'm saying? Like, is Elijah Herring a bad football player? No, I don't think Elijah Herring's a bad football player. He did not play well this game at all. Mm-hmm. But that's my point is like, this is who this team is. We know, well, you and I know that Heupel knows how to coach ball. He knows how to coach offense. There are things that I would like to see different. I wish we could clean up a few things with penalties and, different stuff like that. But we know that he can coach ball, and I believe that he built a pretty good culture. So the only thing that I'm looking at Heupel with is your roster management. I think that it's his fault that we have Joe at quarterback, and maybe I don't know how you could go into the season and be like, all right, we're going in the season with Joe. It's a bridge year. I got Nico next year. I think Joe's good enough to get me 8 or 9 wins, whatever. I don't know how coaches would think that way, but his real responsibility is to get we got some really good dogs on the defensive line, whether they didn't play good or not. We have some bona fide dudes. Now we need a bona fide linebacker. We need a bona fide safety to come in, and we need to keep adding on the offensive line. You see what I'm saying? That's where I put more responsibility on him than like his play calling and then the execution type argument.
I get what you're saying. I think the roster development is definitely part of it. I think one aspect of that is he had a bunch of transfers. Like, he didn't develop anybody from like last year wasn't developed over time. Like last year was developed over a year. Like that's how long the guys were there. And when you really like break it down in this game, if you compare to last year's offense, our best 3 wide receivers were gone. Our number 1 tight end, our number 1 tackle, our number 1 guard, our quarterback, were all gone on offense. Right? You replaced all those guys from last year's Missouri game to here. You replaced all of those guys. So I understand why Heupel went into the season going, Joe is my quarterback. I have a freshman here that's going to be very, very good. But right now, if I put him in versus Joe in, I have a better chance of winning with Joe back there because Joe knows what I'm going to tell him. He knows every call. He knows what he's been doing. He's been a very good leader on this team. He earned the starting position twice, had it taken away from him once, stayed humble, stayed on the team. All the guys there like him. What does it say to the team when a coach says, hey, I'm going to sit the 6-year senior so that I can get the freshman ready for next year? what does that say to every other player in that team of like, Joe deserves this. This is Joe's last chance. You're telling me he doesn't?
Hold on. I got to stop you. We're not. I can't get into this. Joe deserves this. He's been here. Like that's not how life works. That's not how football works. If Nico's the better player, then Nico should have been playing. I'm going to trust Heupel and say that Nico wasn't ready, and that's why he's playing Joe. Even though he knows Joe's limitations, he still said this is still the best opportunity at this point. So,
okay. So now,
hold on.
An SEC championship is not on the board. Now, what do you say?
If he in his heart still thinks Joe is the best player to go out and compete against Georgia, compete against Vandy, and win a bowl game, then that's who he needs to play. That's who because you're talking about what if he played Nico to start the season? What is that saying to all the 6-year seniors? Well, it should fucking say that he believes that Nico is the best player to play. If I don't care what position. If I'm the linebacker on the team, if I'm the long snapper, whatever. I need to trust my coach to be like, there's no political, there's no future, there's no nothing. He's playing who the best player is.
And that's what I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. He's playing the best player. I'm saying the opinion of most is who cares if Joe's playing? Put Nico in, get him ready for later. This is not like it's literally like not even about the season. It's about next season. And I'm just like,
sure. Now it's to the point. I mean, fine. Now it's to the point. It's like, fine. If we know what Joe is, we don't, whatever the goals were going into the year in Coach Heupel's head, which I'm assuming Coach Heupel is a competitor. He's like, I want to win all these games and I want to try to make the SEC championship. If that was his goal and we're not going to achieve it now, sure, put Nico in. Like that's fine with me. But I don't know. I just get frustrated with Joe deserves this. Nico should be in. Nico shouldn't be in. We're punting on the season. The goal is to win each game that you play. That's the goal. And so I have to trust him that he's not getting into any weird political or weird future mindsets. He's like, I'm trying to beat Georgia, and this is who gives me the best. Or I'm trying to beat Missouri, and this is who gives me the best option. I don't know. You want to jump into some plays?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just jumping into that first drive, I was, like, okay, we're, moving just a little bit. Then the third down, Cooper gets beat in a one-on-one matchup, and it's a tackle for loss. And it's just kind of like, all right, well, what are you going to do about it? Am I going to bench Cooper? No. Like, he's my best player he's my best offensive lineman probably. But, but he got beat. So drive is over. Can't take advantage of an interception that we got.
Right.
And it really boils down to that, guys. Like the reason why you thought we abandoned the run game versus Florida is because we struggled running the ball because guys were getting beat on the line of scrimmage. That's why you thought we abandoned it. It's not because they stopped calling it.
The other thing is too, as a coach, you're like, my best offensive lineman just got whipped. Okay. He doesn't start making play calls thinking that that's going to happen again. He's like, okay, like it happens, whatever. I still am going to run the ball because I'm not expecting each guy to mess up every certain time. Like that's not how they're calling plays. They're calling plays because they're, like you said, this matchup on defense or this spot where we are in the field or in the game. And like, that's just not how it's called. And as we're getting into this, it was really it would look like pretty sketchy or not sketchy. It just looked different when you're watching the game. You're like, damn, they got 3 down linemen. We should be pounding the rock at them. When I went back and rewatched it, they had 7 in the box almost every time. Almost every time they were. So it doesn't look like it's a loaded box because they got 3 down linemen and that's it. They loaded the box on us. They dared us to throw the ball. And I want to answer. I forget who it was. I apologize. He's interacted with us before on Twitter, and I wanted to start shouting different people out because I appreciate the questions. And he made a comment about why are more guys not running free this year compared to years past. I think there's a couple things. I think we've had some guys running free deep, and Joe hasn't seen them. I think maybe we've had – what's that?
Joe hasn't hit them.
Right. So he hasn't seen them or he hasn't hit them. Maybe the protection hasn't been there. We lost Jalen Hyatt, who's an absolute track star, and so that doesn't help. And the other thing is, too, I do think people are playing deeper, and they're like, make this team earn it. Make this team earn it, because they're either going to turn it over or they're going to shoot themselves in the foot, which is exactly what we did against Missouri. Continue.
Yes, that's literally exactly what happened. I agree with you. The 3 down front, it is kind of misleading to have 3 guys with their hands in the dirt, but then you got 4 standing up. It's just like they're kind of covering every gap. I thought Missouri had a good game plan versus us, but you get the ball 4 total times in the first half, I think, and you got that 3 and out to start. You come out the next time, we actually finally get the score, and Dante comes up with an incredible catch. That's another thing where it's like, that's not a great throw by Joe. It doesn't help Dante a lot in that, where Dante really had to come back for it.
You know how you win football games, Kyler? Because people do their job and they make the plays when they're there. And Dante made an outstanding individual effort. That was a winning play in football. It's unfortunate he got hurt.
Yeah. Do we know what else, what it was? Has anything come out?
No, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. Okay. And some of the drops that they were doing on defense, they're dropping 8 guys into coverage and really making it difficult to just find windows. But I thought Joe did a good job on some slants. I think Ramel did a really good job on his comebacks, where he is going to the ball. Like, he's not letting anybody cut him off and just making moves on dudes. Like, I think that drive is when he made that incredible, just tossed the guy off of him and ran down the sideline. Like, if he didn't step out, he was getting maybe 20 more yards on that one.
I wrote this down. They mentioned it on that play. So a lot of the stuff that we said that were keys to the game were absolutely the keys to the game. You thought we would do good on their zone and stretch plays. We didn't. I said the linebackers are the key. They played probably their worst game of the year. And then we said, if they're playing a lot of man, we got to win on our man routes and do something. And the defense, or Gary Danielson makes a comment that, the defense coordinator said, we played a little too much man and got a little too aggressive against Georgia, and one guy missed and it hurt us, and we're not going to do that. So I wanted to shout it out offensively. So after that, we get a hold on first down that kills us. It's 3rd and 10. I felt like Squirrel was open. I paused this and I sat there and looked at it for a few minutes. I felt like Squirrel was open on the deep dig. I'm not a quarterback. There are times where I'll feel comfortable as a football player that I'm like, or an ex-football player or a fan of football or being around the game. I'm like, Joe, that was his number one option. He didn't get it there. He didn't throw it. I don't know if this was open or not, because it was a side view compared to the front view, but I still see it. I'm like, that's Squirrel White, and that's a lot of open grass. Can we really not fit that in? So he tried to. It did feel.
They felt like there could have been a break in the zone.
Yeah, and he doesn't. He takes off, and then I don't like that when he did it later in the game where they tried to call illegal pass because they thought he was past the line of scrimmage, and he wasn't. But on this one, he tucks it and ran, and when he tucks it and runs, he doesn't really keep his eyes downfield, and the 2 linebackers converge, and Jacob was just butt naked. All he had to do is take 3 steps, make them converge when they thought he was running, and just dump it. Mm-hmm. That's the difference where I hope what we've seen from Nico is he going to do that stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
So continuing to go on offense.
The next drive, we've got a 2-minute, kind of a 4-minute/2-minute offense. Run the clock out, get into scoring range before halftime. We're moving down the field, just keeping going, running the ball, passing the ball, and there's a fumble. Jalen Wright has been so much better this year with ball security, and I cannot be adamant enough about how proud I am of Jalen Wright. This is one of those freak fumbles where Buddy goes directly at the ball. He hit directly on the ball, didn't even touch Jalen in any other spot, the extra guy. And it's kind of one of those plays you're just like there's not much I wanted to change out of that play, right? Jalen's holding it like this. He's holding it high and tight. He's getting tackled. He's going down. The guy just barely taps him from the backside and is able to get it out. I can't fault anybody for that. But it's one of those things where here is at least a 6-point swing. Had 3 points in our back pocket, and they got 3.
So I want to shout out before we get there. I love to see the slant coming back where we're hitting our slants and our hitches, and it really is pitch and catch. Unfortunately, it kind of plays into Missouri's hands. Like, yeah, sure, we're going to give you up a 8-9 yard slant because we just unfortunately have not gotten one of those slants and house called it. It doesn't matter. Like, I still like to see some of the pitch and catch. And I like that when we have Squirrel in the slot, we run him off and we don't get into this pick play. Pick plays make me nervous because it's just, I want to take anything that I can out of the ref's hands. So if you've got Squirrel and someone's manned up on him, run him. Just run him and let him clear and trust the guy that's coming in that he's going to beat the guy on the slant. You have a lot of green grass. Joe makes a good throw. They did something that you had mentioned where it was they sent Jalen out. And like you said, they send him out in motion. We like to see stuff worked off that. And they ran a QB draw, and Joe got the first down. And then, yeah, it's Jalen's fumble, and it was brutal. And I felt like after that, Jalen was not in a good headspace, and it did not come off to me that I felt like he was a great teammate after that fumble. Now, I don't know if it was he was mad at himself or what the case may be, but we come back from halftime, and they run the pitch play. And I know we got a lot of people that are in the Tennessee fan base or that listen to us or comment stuff that you guys love Jalen. I love how the guy runs. I really, really do. But when your quarterback hits you in the ball or hits you in the chest with the ball in an option and you don't catch it, and then you throw your hands up and get mad at him, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I hate that garbage. It's an option play. You have to be ready until the play is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Joe played it well. Joe got out there. He held it. He got hit, and he hit it. He hit you right in the chest. It wasn't low. It wasn't high. It wasn't behind you. Don't do that bullshit. That is not good.
It's even the thing I've complained about before of, like, quarterbacks leading the pitch to the guy. Like, Joe did a good job of, like, there's no lead. Like, I'm getting hit right when I'm giving this to you. This is perfect set up for you.
Yeah, and so I didn't like that crap when he did that as if it was someone else's fault. Like, that hit you in the chest. And then later on the one that you already mentioned on the swing route, and he throws it behind him. I'll be the first to say when Joe doesn't make a good throw, that wasn't that good of a throw. It was behind him. But you know what? I will take up for Joe on this one. That hit Jalen in the hands. You have to catch that. I think that is an easier catch if you're running out like a swing route, a banana route, whatever you want to call it, and you're turning and catching. I feel like that is easier to do because then you can kind of just spin with your momentum compared to the ones that we argued about earlier in the season where you got a guy running this way and the ball's behind you and you're trying to reach back. So then once that happened and he dropped it, he gets mad. And he could have been mad at himself, but it was like, damn, man, like, hit me with a good pass. It's like, bro, like, I just don't like that body language when things are going wrong and it looks like you're getting frustrated with your teammates.
He hit Jalen on a very similar play out into the flats perfectly early in the game, right in stride. And like I said about that play, Mincy's in Joe, like, Mincy misses his man and he's in Joe's face. Like, that affects the throw. It affects the throw every time.
Yeah. No, I agree. So continue on. Next offense, it was 3rd and 1. We're in shotgun. I don't like that, but I will say when it's good, Cooper then had a really nice block. Castle had a really nice block. I don't know if Jabari was I don't know if Javonte Spraggins was working up to second level. It looked like he got whipped and then made him way to second level. And Castle came in and picked up the D tackle. Really, really nice. And then Jabari made a really nice individual effort to get the first down. So that's a 3rd and 1 in shotgun that I was a little nervous about, but they got it. And then that offensive possession ends by Squirrel and Ramel both having back-to-back drops. Two probably who should be your two most sure-handed people on the team, and they both drop back-to-back good throws from Joe that are first downs.
Yeah, so it's like, who am I supposed to get mad at? Like,
right, exactly.
What's going on, right? I've got all of these drives that I can put together, and someone wants to tell me we abandoned the run game, and that's why our offense is not doing well. It's like, I've got guys dropping balls on 3rd down. I've got offensive tackles just whiffing on their men. I've got just fumbles out the wazoo from people. Like, it ain't running the ball versus passing the ball. Like, that's not it.
Agreed. So the last offensive possession that I have basically for the game is I have nice for Joe to keep his eyes downfield to Caleb, nice to work the pocket to Ramel, 3rd and 1. And this is one we've already talked about. I thought this was the first Jalen's fumble was the appetizer to the game, like to really hurting the game. And I felt like this was potentially the entree to kind of killing the game and momentum, because I think we score there. It was I will be the first to admit, if I see holding and it's on us, I'm like, yeah, it's holding. Like, people want to boo, or people are like, no, that's garbage. Like, no, like it was holding. Like, I know you're a Tennessee fan. Quit trying to argue. This was not holding at all. Like I've already stated, Squirrel did an awesome job. He can't help that he body bagged and pancaked the guy. And Jacob did not even engage the guy long enough for it to be holding. You did not see any pulls. And then you have Jalen. Oh, yeah, this is the one where the throw and he gets mad about it.
Yeah.
And then to finish on offense. The other one about the refs. I listened to it. I played this play over 6 or 7 times. Never once did I hear a whistle before the snap or right when the snap happened. I watched all 3 refs. I watched all 3 refs that are in camera, and all of them are standing. Not only does the ball get snapped, Joey's dropped back. There's a perfect pocket around him, so multiple people are rushing and blitzing, and then they blow it dead. That is absolute horseshit. I will even allow it. I will even say, you know what? I'm not going to get mad at the refs if they blow the whistle right as it's being snapped. And it's kind of like, hey, we probably got that snap off. I'll live with that. But Kyler, I'm not going to live with it and not be acceptable when the snap has been made. Our guy has dropped back 2 or 3 steps and is standing in the fucking pocket. If I'm telling you, bro, if I'm Heupel, I'm doing what I talked about earlier on. I'm calling out Greg Sankey in my weekly meeting. I'm like, and I'm talking about that play specifically. In the rule books, it says once the ball has been snapped, you can't go back. So, plenty of games I watch, whether it's NFL, college, my teams, not my teams, where there's that little bit of like snap, blow, and it's like, okay, we know what they're doing here. They want to replay it. They probably technically didn't blow it in time, but it was close enough. We're not going to argue. This one, bullshit.
Or you see a ref running, right?
Yeah, or that.
Like you see a ref react, and maybe he didn't get it off in time, but you see him.
Yes, exactly. And it just, I'm telling you, so people want to be more mad about the Alabama game or some other games this year. This one is like we've talked about with Gabe, with Omar, with those holdings, and that one, it's unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable. And then that play was the dessert to end the game.
Yeah, I would say that might be still in the main course. I say that pick six is the dessert to end it.
I wasn't watching when the pick 6 happened. You know me, I can't.
Well, that was definitely a turn on the TV when that one happened. Like,
I turned it off. I turned it off when they gave them that fumble and then they went down and scored. I was like, I'm done. I'm not watching this bull crap anymore. So, anyways, I would love, if you don't have anything else on offense, I would love to jump to defense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything else. That was just tough. Like, you can't. Those kinds of things on offense. Hopefully we're able to explain that. So, like, this is not play calling. This is not because we have a different offensive coordinator this year. This is not because Heupel has lost it. Like, guys are not executing when they need to.
I thought the funniest thing about it was the people that were like, "Oh, we missed Golish." Like, Heupel calls the fucking plays, guys.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
And even if Golish did a really good job of creating plays in the week and handing them to him or helping him game plan, okay, so we can argue that, but none of us know that. And truly, it's not fair to say we miss Golish when we don't have a top 10 draft pick on the offensive line. We don't have a really solid player in Jerome Carvin. We don't have a Blitnikoff winner, and we don't have a much better quarterback. How do we accurately know that we miss Golish? So
yeah, that's true.
that is just putting stuff in the air that we're never actually going to know unless Heupel himself came out and said it, which he's never going to do because that would be throwing Joey Halsey under the bus.
Yeah, I mean, we literally don't have wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 from last year right now.
And yeah, right.
I mean, Brew got hurt, and Cedric and Jalen are gone. So it's like top 3 are gone.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into defense. I titled it "Schrader Runs Rampant." That is a damn good running back. Okay, I want everybody to know that he is a good running back. I know he's a short, little guy, might not seem like it, but he knows where holes are. He knows how to hit them. He knows how to protect himself on tackles. He knows how to get through arm tackles. He understands body position. He understands that offense well. He is an all-around back, and they lean on him. He was the main part of their offense. I would honestly say if their quarterback Cook had a rolled ankle and their running back didn't play, I don't know if they score a lot. I don't know if they score. Like, those two were such a huge – the quarterback with his legs and that running back were such a huge part of that offense. I don't know if those two things are taken that it – like –
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, Jalen in the game versus Jabari in the game, we're still doing all right. We're still running the football. Dylan Sampson in the game, we're still running the football. That number – he was – he is it. It reminds me of high school when we played – Heritage, your senior year, my junior year. They had a guy on there was a starting middle linebacker and starting running back. He scored every touchdown. He made every tackle, and they beat us 21-0. And it was all him, nobody else. That's kind of what it felt like from Schrader. That he's the safety valve. He's the guy running, and when I watched the game,
you could have used another example. You don't have to bring that up.
I thought that was the best example.
Run your examples by me because that one sucked.
And you said that like the outside zone kind of stuff to start the game, and I thought through the third quarter, we did a good job on outside zone and outside runs, sweeps, and trying to get to the edge. I thought we did a good job. There are two plays in particular on one of their long drives in the fourth quarter that it's just plain Jane outside zone, and they got a body on a body. They blocked up every person, and Buddy went for 15, went for 16, like 2 plays in a row. But a lot of the big runs, a lot of the gashes that I was seeing were inside zone, were maybe a counter or a power in there. So they saw that outside zone wasn't it, but inside zone was, and he was hitting that backside B gap like crazy. I didn't like our linebackers in their play. Like you mentioned earlier, I thought this was one of Beasley's worst games that I've seen. Also just like Elijah Herring, like Buddy looked slow out there compared to the other. Like really did. He looked like he was getting outrun by people.
There was, let me say this, and this is not to beat him up. I preface it always by saying the guy is 1,000 times better football player than I ever could have dreamed of. He's still young, so he's a true sophomore. But as of right now, he's kind of who we recruited. He was a 3-star guy. We watched this film. We said, yeah, not bad player. Probably not the quickest and most fast twitch. He's playing right now because there's an injury or two.
It's true.
And he's had some decent plays. He definitely didn't play up to his potential. But I think it very much came into the fact where as I mentioned last week, there are still some athletic and genetic deficiencies, and where he's looking slow. And if you're slow or slower, you can't have your eyes in the wrong spot. And I'm talking to you from personal experience. I was not the fastest guy in the world ever. I might have been slightly quick at a point in time in my life, but my eyes, I had to trust my eyes and my angles and instincts, because if it was a foot race, I'm looking like I'm stuck in mud type deal. And so,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, easy, killer.
Well, no, I was agreeing with you.
No,
Listen.
I'm just kidding.
Listen, your stubby friend over here, 6'4", 320, had to block the fastest people you could ever imagine. Like I get it, man. I had to have great eye discipline, great technique, or I was getting my ass beat.
You know what they call people technicians for a reason. Because you got super freaks, and you got technicians.
Yeah.
And then you got when they put it together, and that's when you get Aaron Donald.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was the play later in the game. It's a 3rd and 10, and they get it out there, and Elijah breaks on it pretty nice. You're like, okay, he's going to make the tackle, and it's going to be 4th and 4. Elijah would not have gotten him down if it was flag, and he would have not got him down if it was two-hand touch. I think he only got one hand. There's nothing that Tim Banks can do at that point. There's nothing Coach Heupel can do at that point besides try to recruit somebody better than next year. I mean, they tried to bring in Keenan Peely. He's been injured. They got Arian Carter, who maybe would have been a little bit better athletically. I mean, Elijah's still been playing because maybe Arian's not ready mentally
yet. Arian was hurt.
No, I know he's injured. I'm saying, but before this, because someone could come back and argue and be like, well, Elijah's been playing over Arian. No, I get that. I'm just saying that wasn't his best effort, and he would tell you that he didn't play well. But I'm trying to tell you guys, like, that's kind of who he is so far. 3-star guy, probably going to be more of a lunch pail type dude. You got to give him time to develop even more until his junior and senior year type vibe. But anyways, defensively, nice start. You get some pressure. You get a stop, but then Nico passes off. Danico Slaughter passes off, and we got a break. We still bow our necks up. They get a sack, and then they get a pick. And I'm like, okay, great. This couldn't be any better. One thing I do want to note is when Tamarian got hurt, I really thought that they were going to bump Danico Slaughter in side and maybe bring in Brandon Turnage or Warren Burrell on the outside. I think as Tennessee fans, we should be happy that they trusted Jordan Thomas. He's still somewhat of a younger guy. I guess he's a sophomore, but he's a bigger guy. I think he is a pretty good athlete. Mm-hmm. So I was happy to see that. Defensively, 3rd and 12, we don't have a spy. But it was, that was frustrating. I felt like, and we'll get to some of that, but 3rd and 12, no spy. But then it was a great tackle by Gabe. And Gabe we'll get to it, had a really, really great man coverage where he's running on a crossing route. I've said it once on last week's pod. I'll say it again. Gabe has been much better than I expected. And this coaching staff needs to get credit for bringing him in. Yeah. They saw what they had, and they said, we think this guy can help. And by golly, I fought him the whole time, even we saw him in camp, and he's been a pretty darn solid player.
Yeah, I would agree.
Third 2, have Gabe on okay. So this is one of these things this is maybe where I was slightly frustrated with Tim Banks. So they have it to where there's 3 guys one side. You have a tight end on the line on the right side. You got Jordan Thomas back at safety. You got the other guy shipped in left. They bring a guy in motion. Well, when the guy comes in motion, Gabe is the corner on that side, but they have him inside on a tight end. Instead of him bumping and following out with the receiver and Jordan coming down and replacing, Gabe stays, and it's the most easiest motion out route they throw. Thank goodness Jordan came down and made a good tackle because there was really no help behind him. But that was just something that I didn't like, and that was a good job by Missouri saying, hey, that window dressing was bring him in motion. Let's show him one thing and do something else. I don't know.
Now, do you think Jordan being in the game changed that? Like changed their playing of the motion?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so because he's your nickel, and they had him back at deep safety on that one because of the alignment on his side. He didn't have anyone. So I don't think so. I think it was probably one of those things where the defensive coordinator in practice or on film saying, hey, I trust you. You got to get down to make this play. I don't want to have Gade bounce. And then my safety's back here. It's like, wait, am I going with him? And then they hit a pop pass with a tight end, or is he going to get down there in time? I don't know. But one thing is me, I'm seeing that. And if I see a receiver going out, I want probably my best corner right now. I want him falling and having a safety replacing. Then you got 3rd and 1, and Elijah and the LBs just they don't shoot. They just don't shoot it. There was a couple times where I saw Jeremiah snap head back T-Lander come in, and he took on a double team better than Beasley and Elijah took on regular guys some of the times.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and I'm not saying that T-Lander came in and played amazing. I'm just saying that was one play that I noticed that. Dump off, Aaron Beasley's there, but Elijah takes bad angle, and so AB forces him inside, and Elijah just isn't there to help.
Yeah, that's that was those kinds of plays. I felt they were 11 for 17 on 3rd down overall. I felt that most of their 3rd downs were last options, right? It was either quarterback is dumping off to the last guy, everybody else is covered, or he's running it himself. It's like, as a defense, you did you took away all of his options, and he relied on the very last one to get this 1st down, and he got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And just for example, there was a play earlier on offense where we ran like a read option, and the guy made a tackle on Joe at the line of scrimmage. That's a winning football play compared to our linebackers not even being able to get a hand on him.
Yeah.
So all that, the defense still did their job. After that long-ass drive and giving up all that stuff, they still held them to 3. So, once again, no matter how long it was and no matter how bad it looked, they still got off the field. So we get back on defense at 1st and 10. We have another long play back out of the backfield, and it was just another busted coverage where Nico thinks he's passing off to safety or he's not running with it. Okay, Kyler. This is another thing. It's 3rd and 7. I like the pre-snap alignment on this one. We have 5 down linemen, and we have 1 back, and we are showing that we're about to bring a man blitz. They have 3 people to the side. Wesley Walker, it's the exact play that we ran 2 weeks ago where I was making fun of the Kentucky receiver for doing his Instagram off-season workout route feet, and he never broke Wesley's cushion, and Wesley made a great play in man-to-man coverage. So you're Tim Banks, and you're like, I want to bring some man pressure here. You end up getting the exact same look that you got, and you're like, how do you not feel pretty good that, hey, we stopped it against a pretty good quarterback in Devin Leary? How do I not call another play that was successful for us?
Yeah.
And they get good pressure. He lets it go. And this time the receiver did a really good job. He stemmed inside. He then evened it out. He then broke, and he then cut. And it was a good throw and catch, and Wesley was there to make the tackle, but he was not there to swat it away like he did against Kentucky. That is my thing. You like Tim Banks, and you like William Martinez being like, wow, that was great coverage. Good job, William Martinez. You had him in a great spot. A great call there, Tim Banks. You got pressure, and he had to force it out with a man blitz. Now it's 2 weeks later, and it doesn't work out, and you want both of them fired?
Yeah.
What do you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
it's the same as like we don't win on the road. We just beat Kentucky 2 weeks ago. What the frick are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Then the only thing I didn't like about this on the touchdown is we had Dominic Bailey and Tyler Barron in the middle compared to the big boys of Amari or Eason or Elijah Simmons. Now, Dominic Bailey and Tyler Barron have both played well, but if you're in a goal line situation, 3 or 4 yards, I would probably prefer to have, a James Pierce at an end. Unfortunately, Roman Harrison didn't play this game, and I think that hurt because he's such a little Tasmanian devil. Are we gonna win the game with him? No, because I still don't think the defense was the issue or the overall issue, or the issue that lost us the game. But on that one, when we're down there, I would rather have. I'm fine with Dominic Bailey and Tyler Barron being in at the nose or the defensive tackles when it's third and 12, 3rd and 7, not when it's 2nd and goal from the 5.
Yeah, I would agree. I noticed that and was just like, damn, Dominique Bailey just got road graded on the double team. And that backside B gap and inside zone, the running back, his aiming point is front side A, backside A, backside B. It all depends on the blocking. It all depends on those linebackers scraping over if they're getting lost in the shuffle. And that backside B gap was open every time. It was, I'm pushing front side back. I'm pushing front side back. And every single time it was open, he was able to get at least 9 yards on every single run like that. And it's just, where are you fitting? Where are you disrupting on the D line? And, you know, that has nothing to do with the play call. It's all about like what kind of technique and what gap are you staying in? Do you have gap integrity?
Yeah. Third, then you continue on defense. You got a 3rd and 6. We blitz. Cook makes a play. I said it's a little foreshadowing for later in the game when they're in the end zone and we blitz inside. On this play though, we dropped James Pierce back, and once again, I said it last week, 2 weeks ago. You got to rush. You got to rush him. You have to rush him if you want to play. If you want to make that play call, he has to be on the other end and rushing, and you let someone else. Now, I'll give James Pierce credit. I thought he dropped back very well, which is not a surprise because he's a freak athlete. He's long, he's lean, he's mean. I thought his eyes were in the good spot, which is really the only thing that you could hurt him as a freak athlete. But I thought his eyes were in the good spot. Mm-hmm. 3rd and 6, Omar makes a play, gets a sack, and Aaron Beasley and JP look keyed in on the run on that time, which was nice to see. So we brought 4. He did try to step up. It looked like James Pierce, who was dropped back again, unfortunately, and Aaron Beasley. They looked like they keyed on it. We're coming up on Cook quick, but Omar made the sack.
Yeah. And it's plays of that nature. It's the sacks that you see that as a defensive coordinator or as just a coach, you go, well, do it again. Like, I rushed 4, you got to sack that time. Like, I rushed 4 again. Now we're down. Now we're backed up. They're backed up in the end zone, and the guy runs it out for 15 yards. And it's like, how, like, as a defensive coordinator, what, like, I guess I could have spied more, but like, my D line is my strength.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. We're back at defense. Nico, I think this was the one where I meant Danico allows the run by again, and then they get down there. It's more window dressing, guy in motion. Then they call it. They fake the toss. Our guys were just lost. Cook walks in. He's untouched. Our eyes weren't good. We got blown off blocks. It was a disaster. Going down to the next defense possession, Aaron Beasley got caught in traffic pretty poorly. It looked like he tried to jump in one gap. By the time he realized what it was too late. And then we've already talked about how I hated the call on Omar Norman Lott. 3rd and 10, we've already talked about Elijah in open space. He wasn't touching him in two-hand touch or flag football.
No.
And great job to get a stop for a field goal. It was still a 2-possession game. It was 7-22. It was a 2-possession game, and I think there were still, 8, 9, 10 minutes left in the third quarter. Plenty of time for a Josh Heupel offense to get it together, and unfortunately they didn't. Okay, 3rd and 10. I did hear Jimmy Himes again making a comment about how dumb he thought it was to bring an inside blitz on this one, and Cook got outside. And I would come back to Jimmy and say, and I know he thought it was dumb, and when I was watching it on TV, it did look dumb. But I've gone back and rewatched it, and I see that the last time we brought people on the outside, Cook stepped up on the inside and got away.
He was loving the inside.
Then you had the 2 sacks that we've talked about where he tried to step up inside again, and we made it. So if you're Tim Banks, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I brought some outside pressure, whether it was outside pressure or we didn't keep our gap integrity on our rush lanes, and he stepped up. Then there's 2 more times where he tried to step up, and we made the sacks. All he's thinking is like, I got to get someone in this guy's face. I want a safety, or I want him to throw this. I don't know if Gary Danielson knows for sure. Gary proclaimed that it was a run all the way where he dropped back, sucks him in, and then rolls to the right. I don't know if that's the case or not, but we rush him inside. He gets outside. Another thing that you see is it's one of these blitzes where Joshua Joseph is on the line, and he acts like he's literally on the line like an end. He
Mhm.
takes one step like he's coming, and he drops back. So it's one of our funky blitzes, and it's really unfortunate because he's on the left side. He drops back, and Cook is running to the right. Sometimes that's what happens in football. You call a blitz, and they call a screen right over your head behind it. You just get fortunate. Now, the one
Yeah.
thing that I will say that I did see while watching it, and I could slightly agree with Jimmy, and rewatching it, I would still say, like, I think you have to have one spy there. I think having someone who is athletic enough to spy on at least 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 plus was a must. Whether you got to take Beasley and T-Lander or Elijah Herring out, and you got to put a Jordan Thomas in there, or you got to say, hey, Wesley Walker, I got to drop you down, or whoever you think is your best player in space. I don't give a shit, Kyler, if they got to put James Pearson there and say, hey, man, you're going to be around the middle linebacker spot. You got to just spy him. You got to do what you got to do. And so
Yeah,
that's
like I was almost like I wouldn't care if they had James lined up at D end and they dropped him to the middle of the field and he
right.
played as a spy and maybe they sent one extra off of the edge on the other side and like
Love
just
it.
hey, I got 4 rushers, I got one guy back. I was thinking the same thing. I was just like, the defense does a good enough job to force 3rd down, but they can't get off the field. They could not get off the field on those long drives.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's dump offs that are happening, and it's Cook just working with his legs.
Yeah.
And just a few of those change. It changes the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Stop a couple of those.
That's why I tweeted it at halftime that 3rd down was killer. They were just really good on 3rd down. They called a money down for a reason. You got to get off the field. 3rd and 4, I saw this stat. They were 3 or 4, which is 75% on 3rd downs that were 8 or plus yards. That's even more brutal. A 3rd and 3, okay, I get it. They're going to run a little play action dump. They're going to get it. 3rd and 8 plus. So 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 11s, 3rd and 8s. Some of the ones I remember. That's you can't have that.
I want to know how many of those were converted by a run by Cook.
Probably more than not.
Yeah.
Finish up on defense. Great hit by Elijah. I see that you're still playing hard. Elijah Simmons, that is. He murdered the guy. Great man-to-man coverage by Gabe, which we've already talked about. 3rd and 11. You did get off the field on this one because you tipped the pass, and it's still a 2-possession game with 11 minutes and 41 seconds.
Yep.
And then you got
the fumble drive.
Yeah.
And then, next drive they come out, they start absolutely just running the ball. And then, of course, the last play for a touchdown's play action pass, just roll out. And everyone falls for the run. Every single person on defense.
So I've talked a lot, and I'll be quiet here, and I'm going to hear some of your thoughts about what's next. And, if you think the team quit, I think I heard some people say, oh, this team quit or this team laid down. I probably can't accurately say that because I turned it off with, I don't know how much time was left in the 4th quarter. I felt like on that last one, the defense was just pretty much gassed. Like I said, I felt like the defense had done enough to win the game. I've been on defenses where I felt like we've done enough and the offense has done nothing all game. And it's kind of like, what else do you want? And I don't think it's a give up. I think it's just a subconscious thing where you're still playing and you're playing hard, but you don't have that same juice. You don't have that same bite.
The writing's on the wall. You're down 4 scores with 5 minutes left. Like it's not going to happen. You know what? You're playing for your own pride as a D1 athlete, but like you understand what's going on. I turned the game off after the pick and I didn't watch anything after the pick. I don't need to watch that to determine how I feel about these players on the team. That doesn't tell me anything. I know where they're at. I know how they're feeling in that moment. They feel demoralized. That half of them, I'm sure, feel they let the team down, which they did on some plays. I've let the team down before on plays where I missed my guy, right? Caused a sack, or I had a penalty that ruined a drive. Like, it happens. You know what? How can you bounce back from that? Let's see what kind of person you are the next week. But yeah, that shit happens.
I think that if you want to say a team's quit, like quit on a coach or quit or whatever, I think that's more of not at the end of the game where there's 5 minutes to go and there's a writing on the wall. You know what I mean? Like they're still going to be out there playing. They're still going to be reading the keys. They're still going to be making the play. Like I said, I think the best way to explain it is you just don't have that same intensity. You don't have that same bite. You're gassed. You've given everything you had physically, mentally, and it's just done. Unfortunately, there's just some time left on the clock. So you try to give it your best effort, but it probably is not going to look that way. No. I think if you want to comment on a team's quitting is if they come out and they get their ass beat, and then the next couple games they just look uninterested. That's when someone's quit on a season or on a team or on a coach. Yeah. So sorry again, but what do you think's next? What you make comments about whether you think people should be fired or who's on a hot seat or what it means for the season, whatever you think, what's next?
Yeah, I think all the discussions in everybody's head is, what's the issue with Heupel? What's wrong with him? What's wrong with Tim Banks? Tim Banks needs to go. We need a better offensive coordinator in there. Like Joey doesn't know what he's doing with quarterbacks. A lot of stuff that is, I think, really boils down to the hurt that everyone has felt for so long when Tennessee has had losses like this of, well, we got to get rid of somebody. And it's just, listen, guys, I saw tweets of like, hey, you can't just stay with the same guys the whole time because they were your guys, right? Because those are your guys that you brought in. Like you got to bring in fresh blood. You got to find other coaches from different places. And I'm like,
Randy,
that's exactly what Butch Jones did. He literally fired everyone he brought in with him and hired all new coaches. And how did that turn out? Like, you can't say blanket statements like that. You cannot say a certain guy is a bad coach because of this game and only this game. You need to look at the entire body of work. As it comes to what's next, this program is in a fantastic spot right now. There is still a Georgia team right now that is getting ready at their facility and watching film and being told this team will beat you if you are not careful. Don't get it twisted. That could definitely happen. There is possibilities of Tennessee winning this game versus Georgia. Now, do they have to play a almost perfect game? Yes. Do they have to stop getting penalized so much? Yes. Do they need to take care of the football better? Yes. But if they do those things, they can definitely win the game. So when it comes to this program and we need a turnaround, we need something new. No, we don't. I trust Heupel completely. He's done a fantastic job in recruiting. He's done a great job in the transfer portal. He has a once-in-a-lifetime talent at quarterback who's going to be the preseason favorite to win all the awards next year. It is a great spot for Tennessee to be in. I hate the fact that we lost to Missouri. I didn't see that coming. I didn't think we would, but we deserved that. By the play of our guys, we deserved that loss. Like, that's just how it is. You guys did not play well enough to win that game.
I hate losing, but if we had played well and they just kicked a last-second field goal, it would have hurt. It would have hurt, but it wouldn't have hurt. Probably, it would have been a really rough sting. But this one's more frustrating in the way it's like, damn, I thought we were past this. I thought we were past the bad execution. And then, like I said, this game just made me realize, like, this is who this team is. Like, trust what they've shown you. They're a little inconsistent. They have a lack of execution at times. We still have a lack of just raw talent out there. But I am with you. I'm so happy you brought up the Butch thing. And I don't want this to come off bad towards fans. But if I was a coach, if I was an athletic director, there are some things I'm going to listen to the fans about. like if I'm an athletic director, like what's some things you guys want, or what do you want to see? You want the Vol things back up? You want this? Like, cool. I'm happy to hear that. But if I'm ever hearing fans mention that we got to get rid of this guy, you got to fire this guy or this, and I don't believe it, I'm not doing it.
Mm-mm.
And that's not to sound egotistical or arrogant, but if I've been entrusted to be the athletic director or the head coach, I'm going to do my best and do what I think is best for this program, for this team, because that's what I was hired to do. And one of the issues and what killed Butch and what everyone talks about killing Butch is that he listened to the outside world too much. He got too sensitive. So it's what, what do you want? You want a coach that listens to you?
Yeah.
Because the 1-2 times ago, he did listen to you and it didn't end up well. I thought John Jancic was doing a pretty solid job. Matter of fact, if you want to go look at the numbers, he let John Jancic go. Bob Shoop comes in and our defense wasn't as good. And I think that's one thing I like about Heupel is that he's loyal to his dudes. If he thinks those are who he can win with and he trusts them, I'm cool with that. He doesn't seem the vibe to me of I want yes men around me. He just doesn't give that persona off. He doesn't come off like he's insecure or whatever the case may be. So he needs a bunch of yes guys. He just doesn't give that vibe off. I don't know. I don't have a way of knowing that. I'm not in the building with him every day.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And so if fans get mad because they feel like they want change and he's not making change, well, I'm sorry, guys. You're not the athletic director and you're not the head coach. Now, I get it. A lot of people spend a lot of money to go to games, to be season tickets, to donate, to do NIL now. So I get it. So your voice needs to be heard. But my thing is, if you're not happy with the product, just don't go to the game. Don't spend the money. Don't do these things. And you can voice it a little bit, but I think that's why some coaches just get so annoyed with some of this nonsense because they're like, fucking fire this guy, fire that guy. This guy sucks. And it's like, I just don't know if you just don't know what you're talking about. And I'm not talking about everyone. I'm just saying.
No, yeah.
And it's every fan base. It's not just Tennessee. It's every fan. But they just sometimes it's competition. You had a bad game. All of us. Perfect. If you're whatever you do for your job, every day you go in, you don't crush it. You don't do awesome. If you ever play a sport, whether it's golf or pickleball or whatever the hell you like to do nowadays, sometimes you're not as good at it. And I just, I'm just happy you brought that up because I want him to do what he thinks is best and not what maybe other people think. And I think
I trust your guys. Don't sway from that. Believe in what you brought in.
And really, Kyler, the last thing I was going to say on my little soapbox moment there, the only other thing that he has to do, which is Captain Obvious, is you just got to continue to get better recruits in. Seriously, I personally feel like he is really good at building a culture. I think he's really good on game day. So the last missing piece is get raw, nasty dudes in here so that when you call a play, it's executed really well because you got a bunch of awesome offensive linemen who block well and have good hand placement and are technicians. And you got a guy that can catch an out route, and instead of catching it for 8 yards and taking it to 12, he catches it at 8 yards and he goes 50 to the house. That's the difference. That's the difference.
It really is. I mean, you need that breaking point out of your players. So, as it comes to what's next, you try and finish out the season as well as you can. You got 2 more games to compete, and then look for the best bowl opportunity you can. And I don't know how it plays out, but maybe the bowl game is an opportunity for Nico. Maybe Joe sits out in a way that it's, hey, a lot of the older guys sit out because they want to be ready for the draft or whatever. And it does end up where Nico gets a start in a bowl game. I mean, that's a pretty good thing to look forward to. The season didn't go how we wanted it to, but did we expect this team to be just as good as last year's team? Because last year's team went 10-2.
And they were special.
And they were special. SEC Player of the Year, Litnikoff Award winner, top 10 pick. It was a special team. So,
yeah, I think Juwan Jennings, that we all love, I think he said it best when they asked him when he was here and they dropped some games. He's like, I didn't sign up for a 5-game fight. I signed up for a 12-game fight. I'm here for 12 games. I'm fighting my ass off for this season. You got a great opportunity, and there's nothing more than as a competitor. If I lose, if I can't go play that same team or that same person again and get my revenge like Missouri got on us for beating their ass the past 2 years, if I can't go back and play them again, then damn it, there's nothing better than the number one team in the nation coming out here and saying, all right, let's fucking let it rip. Go out here and offensively hit someone in the mouth and execute. And defensively, I hope you execute, but just take the fight to them. That's what I want to see from our front seven on this game.
Do not be passive. Do not be passive.
Go catch somebody in the mouth, man. The coaches always used to say, if you're going to make a mistake, make it going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, best part about football, moving a man against his will.
Yeah. See you, brother.
All right, man. See ya. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment. We'd love to see them. Love if you guys have any questions. If you're just listening, rate and review, download and re-download, share with all your friends, and follow us on all those listening platforms. If you want to follow us on social media, at Pancakes and Bacon for our main account on Twitter, at Pancakes and Bacon _RTI on Instagram. For Reed, it is just at rbacon26 on Twitter. For myself, it is just at Kyler Curbison on all social media. So check me out there. And just really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us through this. And hopefully we're able to give you some tidbits of information, some perspective to think on. But as always, go Vols.